Thank you. Good morning and welcome to the meeting of the Policy Committee of the Hillsborough Transportation Planning Organization, the TPO. And we will start this morning's meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I think about the pledge more now when I watched Ukraine, actually. With that, can we do a roll call? No? I can hear you, but I can't hear the mic.
Yeah, we can't hear her either.
I think we'll see what we can do here. Go ahead. We'll be perfect at 10.
Commissioner Kemp?
Here.
Commissioner Cohen?
Here.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Councilman Maniscalco? Here. Commissioner Overman?
Here.
And we'd like to welcome Councilmember Citro from the board to the policy meeting, and Charles Klug.
Here.
Great. And with that, we have a quorum present. And so with that, we will move to approval of the minutes. Do we have a Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Commissioner Cohen. And with that, by approval, is there anyone, are we all, please let me say A if you're in support. Thank you.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. And with that, we'll move to public comment. I understand we have perhaps some speakers here or online.
So we have a couple of folks who have signed up, but it's not clear whether they would prefer to speak at the board meeting or at this morning's policy committee meeting. So if we could just ask, I believe we have Ms. Candace Savitz online, if she would prefer to speak at the policy committee.
Ms. Savitz?
Yes, good morning. I'll speak now, and I'm going to donate my time at the policy, at the other meeting, the 10 o'clock meeting.
Okay.
If that's okay?
Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what's at stake with this dirty highway, the toxic 275? Our future, our neighborhood, our integrity, the lives of our children and grandchildren. My integrity was somewhat challenged the other day during the BOCC meeting by FDOT and their reps. I wish I had the liberty to speak without time limits like they do, but bring in a few experts too. But I'm just a public commenter who's worried about our community being poisoned. First, let's discuss my airborne dust sample, which was the topic the other day. It was collected by me on a singular barricade situated in the northwest corner of Lake and 275. The specimen was collected on May 4th, 2022. I still have some left over, enough for another lab test or two. This specimen was so unique, its location, its characteristics, the way it was deposited on the top flat surface of that barricade. I had to take it to the lab, spend $125 to get it tested. It is not a soil sample, and further testing would confirm this. You know, I still have some of this left over. There are no organic earth substances within this sample. No dirt, no moss, no lawn fertilizer, no bug bits, no animal feces. It was a unique sample that was created by humidity, carbon, and lead. It is the cast-off dust from the jackhammering at 275. This dust has deposited on the top flat surfaces of this barricade with the sign on it that says sidewalk closed. It's just the one barricade. My main concern now is the toxic rubble piles that still exist on higher up flat surfaces along the interstate. This cast along these 6 intersections. The cast-off dust from the jackhammering the old interstate has landed on the highway support structures, rooftops, porches, any flat stationary structure, and it will only take flight again when the weather conditions are perfect. This toxic dust will continue to poison us if these piles are not cleaned up. And that's what I'm asking for today, is that they get out there and clean up this site. I suggest that some of these toxic rubble piles be tested by the EPC. This would prove the toxicity that I'm speaking of. Also, did you know that metal sparks can reach temperatures of 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit? I was aghast to see the huge amounts of sparks flying all over Lake in 275 on the evening of August 30th. I got a video of this and I sent it to the county commissioners. The potential for fire and explosion was obvious. I just can't believe that they would do something like this. It's a continued situation of being dangerous and not safe on the project. I want to make you aware of my scientific and construction background, if time allows me, and it allows me to make informed statements relating to this project. I served in the Navy in the 1970s. I was stationed at NAS Whiting Field in the Florida Panhandle. Whiting was a flight training command, and my initial position was with the fire department, also known as the crash crew. Our crew was responsible for cleaning up the crashes that occurred. The only crashes that I worked on were helicopter crashes. And if they occurred in a civilian neighborhood, we had a daunting task of documenting the possibility of toxicity from the crash. What I was involved in, and I ran the laboratory of this fire department. When a crash occurred, we had to go back to our flight area on a flight path and try to recreate the crash due to our requirement to make sure that whatever happened in this civilian neighborhood, that we were aware of the toxicity of a burning aircraft. So we would set on fire however much fuel that we expected that was in the crash, the crash when it occurred. We would also...
Ms. Savitz,
Yes.
your time is up. If you could just wrap it up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, okay, I'm sorry. What I did is I tested toxic air samples and dust samples in that job, very professionally in a lab, and I had very good experience, and that's the experience I bring to the table on this case.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you. And do we have any other speakers at this time? I know I have the list here, but should I call them out? Is Rick Fernandez there?
I don't believe he's on. Mr. Fernandez, are you on? Okay.
And Lena Young-Green? Ms. Savitz, are you still there?
I believe, yes, Ms. Havitz is still here. Ms. Havitz, go ahead.
Yes, I'm here.
I just would like to ask you, and thank you for the work that you do and the dedication that you have for this. It's, thank you. It's very impressive.
Yeah.
And for elaborating on your background, that's much appreciated. You had mentioned that that you were concerned about cleanup of maybe, I think you said toxic rubble surfaces. So
Yes, toxic rubble
could you
piles.
just,
Yeah.
if I could, just so we can know, and if you're not speaking later, just exactly, could you just describe more precisely what you're talking about? Is that all the way along the roadside? Are you talking about one site in general? What are you
No, they're everywhere.
speaking to?
Yes, they're deposited on the support structures mostly. Some of these support structures are newly built. They built the thing for the widening of the road, and yet when they were jackhammering the side, what happens is in kind of like the little corners of the support structures, this cast-off jackhammering stuff from the, 60-year-old interstate is full of lead, and that dust is settled there. If it didn't go flying in the air, the support structure caught it. And I am going to take more pictures. I have pictures of it but it shows little piles of this dust. And this is the same dust that I took to the lab that's highly, highly toxic. And I said something in the Tampa Heights Civic Association meeting recently that FDOT was there, our guest, and I said, you guys got to go clean up that stuff. And my concern is the minute it stops raining every day, which thankfully is the dust mitigation that we need right now from nature, it's giving that to us. When it dries out and there's more activity going on, these dust piles will take flight again. I know this, I have a background in dust. They will take flight again and they will land other places. They will be airborne again. So at first I thought, well, when they finish the jackhammering, everything will be fine. But now I realize these piles of rubble or dust are everywhere and we're not going to be fine until they go clean it up.
Okay.
So that's my ask this morning, is that those piles get cleaned up.
Okay.
And I know FDOT knows where they are.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate you taking the time to call in and let us know of your concerns. And with that, we are closing public comment. I don't know that there's anyone else that is wishing to speak at public comment. Okay, so let's move to our status reports. Ms. Alden?
So our first speaker this morning, we're very pleased to have April Combs, who has been in charge of a statewide plan with the Florida Department of Transportation, planning for electric vehicles.
Hi, good morning. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for having me this morning. I'm happy to be talking to you about our recently submitted deployment plan. So this was submitted August 1st, so hot off the presses, so to speak. So next slide, please. Can I advance my slides, or would you go ahead and advance? So one of the things that is really important about the deployment plan is that this builds on the work that we have been doing here at the state level and at the local levels. We have the FTP as well as the LRTPs that we have a lot of this our policies in. So this is something that, you know, the states, our local governments, our MPOs have been doing for some time. One of the things that, if you could back up just one slide, please, because there's a point that I want to hit, second slide, is that Florida is second in the nation for EV adoption. So that's a very impressive fact. But what's equally impressive there is that Florida is second in the nation for fast charging infrastructure. And that's a fact that we all should be very proud about. Because one of the things that I'm sure you're very much aware of is installing DCFC infrastructure is it's quite an endeavor. I like to call it a team sport because it does go across so many offices that you need. To get that done. There's utility, there's, you know, the local governments with the permitting, there's the site preparation, there's the installation. It is rather a, you know, a complicated endeavor. So this is something to be quite proud of for our state. And one of the things that, you know, I do want to point out here is that since 2020, we've had a 55% increase in DCFC in this state. So one of the things that we're looking to do with the NEVI funds coming into the state is to, you know, capitalize on this momentum. Next slide, please. So to talk about the funding that is coming into the state and break that down a little bit. So there's two pots in here. There's the formula funding, which is the NEVI funding. It's the National EV Infrastructure Program. That's giving $5 billion to state DOTs over 5 years. Florida's share of that is $198 million. So this first year, it's $29 million. But before we can access that, we had to get our deployment plan in, which we have, and the joint office has to review that. And we're looking for them to hear something back at the end of this month. Now, there's another important, pot of funding that's $2.5 billion in discretionary funding. Now, half of that is $1.25 billion. And that specific pot of money is for DCFC on corridors. And the important part of this is MPO, local governments, and tribes are the eligible applicants. Next slide. So this map, I have to say I giggle every time I see it because there's one state that doesn't look quite like the others, and that is Florida. When we did our application to nominate our roads for the alternative fuel corridor, we really went with gusto. So we nominated and we got over 4,000 miles, which was a 58% increase of our, state and national highways on the alternative fuel corridors. And this was a very strategic plan on the part of the department. And it was for the local governments, our MPOs, because I will tell you, like when we started, we had all our interstates on the alt-field corridors, and some states didn't even nominate any new corridors. Now this comes back and ties into that discretionary pot of funding that I talked about. We want our local governments and our MPOs to be eligible for that funding. The NEVI funds require state DOTs to fill in gaps on the interstate highways first. So that's precisely what we are going to be doing at the state level is filling in the gaps on the interstates. But with the discretionary funding that should be coming out sometime later this year, we want our locals to be competitive, and that's why we put as many state and national roads on the alt-field corridors, so our local governments and MPOs could be competitive. Next slide, please. So with that, it's going to take partnerships, right? Our local governments, MPOs, they're not the and we don't expect them like DOT. we're not in the business of EV charging, but there's a lot of people out there that are, and they're looking at Florida because Florida is a fantastic market to be for EV charging, precisely for some of the reasons that I talked about before. That increase, that 55% increase. We've got we're second in the nation for EV adoption, and that is increasing. So here are some of the folks that we've been talking to over this past year. There's many more. They're all interested in coming, and either they have a footprint in Florida or they want to have a footprint in Florida. So these are folks that would be great partners. They're interested partners. They want to work with us at the state level. We're talking and encouraging them to work with our local governments and MPOs as well. So that's a key thing to remember, that on the discretionary pot of funding that will be coming out is that you are the eligible applicant, not these interested parties. So to be able to go after the funding, you will need that partnership. Next slide, please. So to talk a little bit more about the deployment plan, as I mentioned, it's required to access the NEVI funds. So we are patiently waiting to hear back from the joint office so then we can move forward with our procurement and then going forward with installation. So it is a high-level planning document that is a framework for implementation. It is not a step-by-step process for what we see, but just provides the overall framework. We wanted to give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room because it's a 5-year program. No need to paint ourselves into a corner, right? One of the things that was very important to us when thinking about moving forward as a state is supporting emergency evacuations and resiliency. So that's a theme that you know, you will see over and over again in this document. That we're very proud of and that you don't see quite so much in others state deployment plans. Next slide, please. One other things that I'm very proud that Florida did is that we had a lot of stakeholder engagement. We were the only state in the Southeast to have a true public comment period. There was a very tight timeline to develop and submit the NEVI plans. So we made it a priority to reach out to our stakeholders, get feedback, and that is reflected in the plan. I think that's, you know, I think we all can agree that stakeholder engagement and making sure that, you know, involvement and listening and getting those comments incorporated make for good sound plans. Next slide. Next slide, please. So so just quickly on the goals of for the plan, it's a couple back, but the goals are looking at how we are going to implement and because you know our major overarching goal is to complete the network. If you can go back a couple, there's a goal slide. I think it's number 8, but our overarching goal is to completely build out 100% EV network in the state. And so these are our goals on how we're going to get there. But one that I want to point out that's going to take the work of all of us, right? This is not just the work of DOT, but it's really the it's going to take everyone as position Florida as a national leader in EV infrastructure and implementation. So as I mentioned before, I said EV infrastructure is a team sport. So that's going to take all levels at state, you know, local, our you know, stakeholders as well. So this is something that we see that you know, Florida's been doing well, very well, but we want to continue that trajectory. But we can't do it alone. We need everyone working together, and I think this is something that we can do and really be successful at it. Other people around the country are already looking to our state for guidance, and we can continue that and be even better. Next slide. So the next slide is talking about some strategies, just a little bit about what's in the plan. And we have broken that down by planning. And then the next one will be installation, and then emergency management. We're not really like slide 9, please. and then emergency preparedness and resiliency. So we have spent this past year with a lot of planning, and that's where our deployment plan came from. And we're still doing planning, and we'll be continue with our procurement. It's a competitive procurement. That's something that we heard from our stakeholders that's very important to them, is to be open and transparent with that process. And with that, there's some things that I'll hit on a little bit later that we're doing to make sure that we do that. Next up, installation and operations. I think that one's there's some things in there that I recommend reading the plan. We've got some things in there that we're looking at, because there are some differences, right, from the urban areas versus the rural areas. So we've got some strategies to fill in those areas and how we're targeting them, so that those sites can be successful after the 5 years, because that's really a goal. Is after this 5-year program, we want all our sites to be self-sustaining. And then finally, emergency preparedness and resiliency. So things that we're looking at are more mobile charging. Um, I think, for Floridians, this is especially important to us, because when we think about evacuations, and with the adoption rates going up, that we need to be prepared for the worst case scenarios. And we're running models right now on what that looks like, where we would need mobile charging. But we need to make sure that all our citizens in the state are safe and are prepared in the event of disasters. So it's not just, in the worst case scenarios, but it's also in every day. So we're looking at our road rangers and making sure that they're prepared, and can help stranded motorists. So we're looking for everyday and worst case. Next slide. So, as I mentioned, we're looking at the joint office approval by the end of this month, and then we'll get moving with forward with our competitive procurement. One of the steps that we're taking with that is, this fall, we're going to host an industry forum. That's a way that we can connect with potential applicants and vendors, so that we can talk to them about what we think is going to be in our competitive procurement. We want to make sure that we're communicating with everyone in a single voice, so everyone has the same information. But this is also an opportunity for all our potential applicants to meet, potentially form partnerships, because once again, EV infrastructure, you need your site host, you need the infrastructure. There's so many components of that. So we're really looking to bring people together so we can get the best projects and applications for the state of Florida. And then next up, following that, we're looking to issue a competitive procurement or procurements. We're still looking on the best way to do that to get the biggest bang for our buck in the state of Florida. So with that, that's the end of my presentation. I'm happy to take questions, talk about anything more in specifics, but just a reminder, a safety message that keep those cell phones out of your hands so your hands can be on the wheel. We are precious cargo.
Thank you very much. And with that, do we have, and I don't have a screen here, I guess I should look here. Sorry. All of a sudden I was like, well, okay, where are, if anyone else is asking? Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Overman, you're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you so much for such a thorough presentation. I had the pleasure of hearing a great deal about the plans as they would be rolled out as part of the infrastructure plan when I went to NACO last year or this year. Gosh, it's been a long year. And I was pleased to see how the programs were going to roll out to the states, and really glad to see that Florida's rolling it out, in an aggressive way. And we are in the Sunshine State, so electric energy is a preferred But I did have a question about some things that you had alluded to, and I wanted to make sure the general public as well as our board understands the financing end of how this works. You made mention of it's going to take partnership, maybe about 8 times. So what I'm trying to understand is what does that mean? So for example, in a lot of transportation funding, it takes, in order to qualify for the grant, it takes a local match, or it takes a local participation, or it takes a local commitment that is a financial commitment that each of the local counties would need to plan on, or counties and cities would need to plan on. So, given that we are in a position in Hillsborough County where the infrastructure needs we have are in a deficit position. I mean, we're planning for the future growth, which we're able to pay for, but we have a significant deficit in unfunded projects as it stands right now. So in that scenario, what would Hillsborough County need to do in order to see that we could participate in this effort? And is a financial local match part of the structure? Then secondarily, based on what you anticipate being what we would need to plan for, um, is there any financial plan to be presented to each of the local governments to help them understand what that participation looks like? And I'll stop there.
So for the NEVI program, one of the things that we have identified is toll credits to use. And but we have been hearing from our industry partners, especially the EV infrastructure providers, is that they feel that there should be some financial contribution, or that their partners that from the industry should have some skin in the game. So we have not made a final determination of what that is going to look like, but those are some of the things that we're hearing is some of these partners that are coming in have some funding, and want to this is their business model. They are looking at this for the long term. So while we haven't made a determination about it for the NEVI funds, how that would correlate to the discretionary funding, which I have been a proponent of, and touting, I would say, and look to your partners there, the ones that are coming in, because there will be a match component of it. And look, ask your partners about that. So while you are providing as the county or the local governments, quite a lot of resources, you're the lead applicant, it might be a good idea that they or are a willing partner and want to have that commitment for match, because that is what we are hearing from a lot of our meetings.
So let me suggest that part of our referendum coming into voters in November has a provision for innovation and intersection and safety and resilience in some respect. Um, but we haven't had it on our list, of projects at this point. So it would need to be considered. But what I am hearing is it's going to take local funding, not only from the partners, but also from the local governments in order to make a program like this actually work. Is that correct?
Not necessarily, not if you're going after competitive grants. So you would need to be the eligible applicant. So there's, let's say, the entire pot is 1 point, and let me step that back a little bit, because there's, anytime you have like a federal grant, there's going to be some kind of, administration that goes on. So you would need some kind of resources to administer the grant. But however you do that, that would be up to you at the local government and identifying those resources. But as terms of, the match, if you're just looking at it for, some of the sites that we're looking at, just kind of like the basic, to meet the requirements of the NEVI, which would be 4 ports, at 150 kilowatt per port, are running around $1 million. So if you do this site at $1 million and it's, let's say a 20% match, and you ask your, industry partner or partnerships to pick that up, I guess the local government would just be on the hook for administering, the grant funds because you're the lead applicant.
That's very helpful, I think. It's getting closer to what I imagined. As it was my understanding that that there would not be a revenue source for the locations that are actually on the interstates, but that there was a potential for revenue, in other words, people paying to charge, um, on the local level. So in our community, similar to a gas station that would be in the city or in the county, as opposed to a rest stop on an interstate. Um,
So we can't do rest stops.
right, you can't do rest stops. So there's not going to be any infrastructure on the interstates.
So we're looking at, because of the commercialization and rest stops, we can't do that. But we're looking at sites that, are at interchanges, so, within a 1 mile area.
Okay, all right, that's helpful. Thank you.
Hmm.
I appreciate the report. It's helpful to see that Florida has a great plan. It sounds like, and a robust plan. We just need to know at the local level what our options are in a constrained funding. Yeah, so
I understand. I hope this is helpful. And, putting you guys in touch with partners, or, people that want to be in your area because it is a good market. It's a really good market. Happy to make connections.
thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Is Alden?
Thank you. And just briefly, I just wanted to refresh the board members' memory that we have budgeted in this fiscal year to do an analysis of the needs for EV charging infrastructure here in Hillsborough County and the 3 cities. And we are just wrapping up the scoping process for that, and ready to bring a consultant on board to help with that. But if there is something that you'd like us to work into that scope to support your local government efforts and potential grant applications, we would love to talk with you more about that.
Thank you. And I just actually have a few questions I'd like to ask to Ms. Combs. What, in terms of, I know you said fast charging infrastructure. I have my hybrid that I park outside my house and have a regular electric plug off the porch and the equipment to, put it in for a small charge overnight that gets me a few miles here and there. But when you say fast infrastructure, for one, what is that infrastructure and what does it require? And does it from all the different models and everything that's being developed, is it going to be is the infrastructure going to be the same? Do we kind of know that across different models?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And so the industry is, maturing, a little much more now and has agreed on, which port to use, to connect the car. And so let me, back up just a minute, and talk about the difference between publicly available and, a proprietary network. So Tesla is a proprietary network. They have, and it means it's closed to their customers. So that is not part of this funding. So we are only talking about, chargers that are open to the public. And that port is called, this is an industry choice. It's called a CCS port. That is what the industry has decided to use moving forward. There are some old leafs that use a CHAdeMO port, but that's not where and those cars are really ready to go and make, a trip across, the state. So it's really the CCS port, and that is definitely the way of, now and as of the future. So you see cars that are coming out with 500-mile battery ranges. So there's really, vehicles that can support long road trips. And so we're coming out with the infrastructure that is needed to support that. So very much like a gas station that is on the side of, an interstate interchange. That's what this is looking to provide, are those quick charges that can get you from one place across the state, or those regional, multi-state trips.
And how long will it take are we talking 15 minutes, half hour, the fast charges for, I know you can't say for every car, but just basically?
It's really exciting because it's some of the technology, and the bottom line is like, how fast can your battery accept it? And there's some new batteries that are coming out, but I'll give you a range of up to like 15 to 30 minutes, depending on where your battery is and how fast you can accept a charge.
Okay. And one thing I don't understand, because you talk about the partners, utilities, retailer, EV infrastructure providers, that all makes sense. But so these stations, I guess we'll say, these
Yes.
electric stations, are they, who owns them? Is it AFDOT? Is it the?
No, ma'am. We do not want to be in the business of EV charging. We see our role as definitely to give, and help boost the market. But after the 5 years, this is not our business. And most DOTs across the state are very much like-minded. So when we're talking, and we've been talking to a lot of stakeholders from around the country on this, and it's really how the applicant will set it up, whether it's, the landowner, if they're leasing the that part of land to an EV infrastructure provider, if it's a long-term lease. So that's where it gets a little bit more, complicated, and where it really needs to be a partnership, because you are looking at the land, you're looking at the equipment. There's lots of things that, have to go into a successful site and project.
So it is an opportunity for private ownership to, eventually profit from these, or make a living.
110%. And
Okay.
so right now their EV charging is not, profitable, but many of these companies are taking the long-term look on it, that they will be, and they're making that investment.
And you said we're second in the nation, Florida, for EV adoption and fast charging infrastructure. And you, showed us that corridor map too. Can you just, and I'm sorry, I'm just very curious about this. So what makes us second in the nation?
Sheer numbers, right? It's, even though we're a very populous state, we have just the numbers of people that are adopting EV infrastructure. So they're buying EVs, and then we have, you know, our private industry that's looking at that, and then putting in infrastructure. And we have good plans here at the state level. One thing that I want to point out is that in terms of thinking about EV adoption and EV infrastructure, I always like to talk about it as a seesaw, that it needs to be even, and that you need to be successful, you need a good proportion of EV fast chargers, per EVs in the state. And we have a good ratio of that. Some other states, number one, California, their ratio is way off. So they have a very high number of EVs to a DC fast charger. So while they're number one in everything, their ratio isn't that great. So I think it's, once again, to sing Florida's praises, something that we've done really well, and that's working with private industry and letting that that market and kind of lead and see where it's going. And that's what we're working with really so closely right now, is our partners and listening to make sure that we make very prudent decisions for our state and our residents and also our visitors. That's one of the things that we're really taking into account, because as you all know, we have sometimes more visitors in the state than we do residents.
So I guess it sounds like with Florida, because or California, they would have so many more electric vehicles in terms of not having the infrastructure match it. But okay, this is interesting. Thank you very much. I just had some particular questions. Yes, Councilman Citro.
This comes Joseph Citro here, Tampa City Council. There. Thank you, Ms. Combs. Joseph Citro here, Tampa City Council. Just for my information, do you own an electric vehicle?
No, I do not. So I purchased my car, I think it was about 2 years ago, and I drive the family car. And so there was not a viable option at that time. However, I am singing the praises of station wagons to my 13-year-old now. So when he gets his license in 3 years, he will accept a station wagon so I can get an EV. Because with the models coming out now, and because I'm looking at the models coming out now, they will be used, and that is what I will be getting. So yes, in 3 years, that will be my car. Sorry for the long answer.
No, Ms. Combs, you won't regret it. As a person who owns an EV, I am very, very happy with it. Most people that own EVs usually top off their car every night when they go home and plug it into their electrical outlets in their homes. The problems that most EVs are having is driving longer distances. And my question to you is, since this is new and fresh to Florida, would it be better for unincorporated areas of counties to start that charging push, so that people that have to drive longer distance in their electrical vehicles would be better off, since we cannot have since there won't be electric charging stations in rest areas and or oases along our Florida highways and state roads?
I think that's an interesting conversation, and I'd like to, follow up with you, because we are looking at the gaps and where we need infrastructure. So if we could talk about that and kind of think through that, I'd like to have that conversation.
Wonderful, because Miss Alden is going to give me your phone number. But I find that's the
Wonderful.
problem with most people, including myself, that own EVs, is that I can get from here to Orlando and back on a single charge.
Mm-hmm.
It's trying to get to Daytona or to get to Miami or somewhere that middle point that I could stop and get a rapid charge with the CCS ports. So I thank you very much, Ms. Combs. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
And I think with that, I don't see any other questions, and we can move on.
I just have one.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Combs, for your presentation. I'm looking at the fact that we are especially in Hillsborough County, increasing our density and building multifamily living arrangements, and not only for affordable housing, but just in general market rate housing. We don't really have specifications for requiring someone to connect. It's easy when you own your own home, as we heard our chair mention, but when you live in multifamily, what is the guidelines or recommendations for potential either land use or zoning considerations when building multifamily?
So there's a couple of things. So when I mentioned the competitive funding, there's another pot for community charging that, and that funding doesn't have to be on corridor. I focused on the corridor because that's, you know, the role really of FDOT, where we're focused in on those corridor. I'm going to step outside a little bit, so forgive me. I think I'd get in trouble from the FDOT side, but I do understand that question. I spent 13 years in the energy office, and so to get at the root of that problem, there's some really having issues getting at the building requirements to get make ready is, you know, one way to get at those multi family issues, and to have those the infrastructure already put in. That only addresses new construction, though, not already there. You know, existing construction. So the community charging pot of money would help, because there's studies coming out that show that charging will help the multifamily. So if there's other places to park, like Commissioner Troy mentioned, a lot of people top off at night, but there's other places in the community that you can do that.
Thank you very much.
Hello, this is Connor McDonald,
Okay.
TPO staff. I just wanted to take the time to explain that in the scope for the EV infrastructure plan for Hillsborough County, we are currently looking at land development code and what uses are compatible with EV charging, and of course considering multifamily housing in that. Thank you.
Great. And with that, I think we better move on to our other topics today.
So next we have.
Thank you so much
Yeah,
for
thank you,
having
April.
me. I enjoyed this.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mary Lou Godfrey with FDOT District 7 to highlight some of the opportunities for walk-bike connections that they are planning to build as part of the Westshore Interchange reconstruction. And if Cheryl could pull up the, I think we have a diagrammatic map that Mary Lou is going to speak from.
Hi, this is Mary Lou Godfrey, and thank you for this opportunity to speak to you this morning. In addition to the roadway improvements for the Tampa's Westshore Interchange, this project will construct sidewalks and shared use paths, providing connection to the overall network. As you can see probably in the map, in a kind of a purplish color on the causeway coming from the Howard Franklin Bridge, which will be completed in 2025. One of our early works projects, the seawall projects, will be adding that chartreuse purple color trail. And additionally, the Rio Street will have a trail, which you can also see. That's also an early works project that will be completed before 2025 with Howard Franklin. And there will be a temporary connection to the Rio Street from the seawall shared use path. That will allow connection to Cypress Point Park, and then also some improvements on LaSalle Cypress will include that connection for the U-Path, and then on to the Courtney Campbell Causeway. And when as you can see in the other colors, when the Westshore Interchange project is completed, the more turquoise color will be the shared use paths that will be added. And there are some existing sidewalks that are already there, as noted in the drawing. Additional, when the connections at Rio, Cypress, also at Trask, there will be the shared use path connections there to connect the overall into downtown when that section comes, is being built as part of this Tampa Bay Next program. So this is an overall map to show you where and how those connections are being made with the roadway project.
Mary Lou, it's a little bit hard to see the legend on that map. Could you explain briefly what the dark blue color is and the lighter blue color?
Yes, I don't know if somebody can blow that up, but the existing sidewalk is more in the blue color. The existing shared use path proposed is more in of a turquoise color. If you can see, if you go, if your bearings, if you can see Rio Street, that turquoise color, that's what's being added to the with the Westshore interchange. And then the kind of the it was kind of an orangish yellow color is the proposed connection by City of Tampa, some of the work that they're doing. I think there's 2 locations on the map. And then the purplish, pinkish color, you can see that's the early works project where shared use paths were included. Does that help to understand?
Just a quick question, if we could put it back up. So the pink color, oh, thank you. The pink color is basically a sidewalk over the bridge?
That's a shared use path that you see there along the causeway from Howard Franklin to the Westshore area.
So,
And so
just
we'll
to be
come off
clear,
of the Howard-
when you say the causeway, you're not talking about the Courtney Campbell Causeway, you're talking about the Howard Franklin Bridge.
Well, there's a section from the Howard Franklin Bridge to the Westshore, where it's roadway, it's not on bridge. That's what I'm calling the causeway.
Oh, I see. Okay. It's pink and then it becomes aqua.
Yeah, and then aqua is what's coming with the Westshore interchange, when the connection to Rio Street is made. But there will be a temporary connection from the end of the pinkish purplish to Rio Street. There will be a temporary connection there. When the Howard Franklin opens, then the seawall will be finished, Rio will be finished, and so those connections will already be in place. When the Westshore interchange comes in, it makes the connections underneath for Rio Street, for Occident, and for Trask. Then those connections will be made, but the interstate will have to be built before those connections on both sides could be made.
So Mary Lou, I appreciate your attention to detail here. This is obviously a very complicated area with a lot of things going on. It's also an area where one of the statewide Sun Trail corridors is designated. So this would be where the Gulf Coast corridor comes across from Pinellas County along the Courtney Campbell Causeway, swings down to Cypress Point Park. That facility already exists, that multi-use trail. And the question, I think, in our minds has been, how do we make that connection then going farther east and making the connection to the downtown Riverwalk and the Selman Greenway? And could you walk us through, for example, if someone is on a bicycle coming across the Courtney Campbell Causeway, what would be their likely route and the facilities available to them after the Westshore interchange is fully reconstructed?
Sure. They can go down the U path. They can go down. They can go east on Cypress. They could, if they wanted to go south on Rio Street and they could go and they could go underneath Rio Street and go to Kennedy, and then they could get through to Kennedy through the shared use path, but there would be sidewalks to the connection due to the right-of-way availability at the corner of Kennedy and I guess it's Kennedy 2 at the Westshore Mall. They also, and then they could kind of weave their ways over to downtown. Eventually, there is another project that is going to pick up from Lois all the way to downtown. Or they could take the route of Cypress that currently many cyclists take, and take that all the way to downtown, basically from either in the roadway or on the sidewalk. Or if they wanted to take an alternate route, they could go to Occident and come down. There is going to be a shared use path that's added. They could cross Westshore, they could cross Trask. There's a pond there just east of Trask, and then they could make that connection at Lois and come to the existing on Cypress and Lois.
And so is there a continuous, like a multi-use trail, like a separated path that would be up to the standards for a Sun Trail corridor through this area?
Probably not. We'd have pieces of it. To get to Sun Trail, we would have to purchase additional right-of-way to make those connections. But there is there's some avenues, but I'm not sure that it would meet the criteria for Sun Trail.
Could you highlight what the gaps are?
Probably I need to do a little bit more research to give you that information. I can come back and show you where the gaps are as far as the meeting the criteria for the Sun Trail.
Okay, is that the complete presentation?
Yes, that is.
Great. And I don't think I see any other questions. I'll just say for the record. Oh, okay, great. Commissioner Smith, you're recognized.
Thank you. And I may have missed this. I had to step away briefly, but can you talk about the timeline for community input from here? Will us see the TPO as well as the citizens be apprised of features that may change as the design moves into the phase of building? Like, will there be opportunities to for the community to ask for or check again for any features that the construction company might have different ideas about implementing than the design has? I mean, like, when is this carved in stone, and how will citizens be able and local governments be able to continue being involved?
Sure. So the section that we talked about in the kind of pinkish color that's coming from the Howard Franklin, there is a trail that comes off the Howard Franklin, and that's already been is in construction. Also the one with the pinkish trail that is on the connection from Howard Franklin to Rio Street, that project is also in construction. And then the Rio Street, we have been coordinating closely with the city of Tampa on that project, and they are providing the right-of-way for that project, so we could put in the shared use path and also the sidewalk connection along McDonald's Training Center. So that one is, about to let for construction, but there has been a lot of coordination with the city of Tampa for that one. And also the other pinkish color is for the Cypress LaSalle, that's in construction. And there was a lot of coordination with the city of Tampa and others to assure that the connections for pedestrian and bicycles met the needs of the community. So those are already in construction. The ones that are in the kind of the turquoise color, or they're existing, that will be part of the Westshore project itself. These others were part of the early works projects. And we just advertised yesterday for the Westshore Interchange. It's going to be finished with procurement by end of this year. We'll have a contractor designer on board in February. And the planning stage will be like 9 months. So they will take what we've put together and look at options to see if there might be some other way that we could do it better or meet more the needs of the community. So beginning of next year will be the time, maybe March, when they've had a chance to get on board to see if they have any other changes or recommendations from the concepts that we have developed, which you see here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'll just say for the record, when I see the pathways and the trails like this, and I like the punch through and I like that accessibility, those should be the same infrastructure that's used for transit, not catwalks across the interstate. I don't know, I still don't understand if there's any opportunity because I know there's this whole thing about the express lanes being used for the Lexus lanes being used for bus transit, but to have it be able to leave the road at Westshore at the airport, the buses to leave the express lanes, if that's the desired route, and to get to Westshore or the airport at the ground level, not requiring a expensive and unwieldy and a preference that people that use transit don't like, walking across the top of the expressway. So I'll just say that here because this is a perfect infrastructure for transit, and that's what we should be looking at. That's what makes transit usable. Thanks.
Thank you.
That's a compliment to the trail structure. And with that, we can move to the next topic.
Okay, thank you. And thanks, Mary Lou. Our next topic, and the last thing on our agenda, is to look at the planning portion of the transportation system sales surtax that is on the ballot in November. A couple of you have asked what the TPO would use those funds for. And so I've provided in your packet what was adopted a couple of years ago in our planning work program when the 2018 ballot measure was approved by the voters. And then we had a discussion here about what would be the appropriate use of those planning funds. So the bulk of those funds were proposed to be used to hire consultants to assist the local governments to do feasibility studies, to identify, for example, safety improvements, advanced traffic management systems improvements, bus service improvements, and those funds would then be, administered and managed by the TPO in support of those local agency staff to help bring the new improvements online as quickly as possible. There's a couple of things that are different in the proposal that's on the ballot this year. One is that the TPO would receive 0.5% rather than 1%, and so that amounts to perhaps $1.5 million a year-ish. It's going to fluctuate, of course, with the economy. One of the other things that's different is that we don't have the independent oversight committee that was part of the last ballot measure. There is still an oversight committee that is simply reviewing the audit after the expenditures are made to make sure those expenditures are consistent with the measure that the voters approve. But there would not be this initial plan review with an oversight committee review of that plan. And so we don't have to provide administrative support, public meetings, public hearings, an annual report in the way that we did with the last ballot measure. So two other things that are different. One is that it is identified in the ordinance that the long-range transportation plan would be an opportunity to review how the funds are expended and look at goals and performance outcomes. So those performance measures that we've been monitoring and forecasting out through the long-range plan, where will we be if we have certain funds, if they're directed in certain ways? How does that improve, say, maintenance, potholes, state of repair? So we would continue to provide that analysis and forecasting, but there's a little bit more emphasis on it now with the new ordinance. And then the last thing that's different is there's a new eligible expenditure in planning, and that is for the TPO to support the work of the Planning Commission in developing community plans, so the transportation portions of those community plans. So those might all be new areas to focus on. I would suggest if the measure is approved, of course, we would then be coming back with, at a public meeting, with an amendment to our planning work program to lay out exactly how those funds would be used over the next couple of years. But I would suggest that we want to, in addition to the feasibility studies, look at beefing up our data sharing platform, which helps us with our performance measures and forecasting those performance outcomes. And also possibly look at bringing a planning engineer on board so that we could achieve, it's called LAP certification with the Department of Transportation. But that would help us, we would then be able to help the two local governments, City of Plant City and City of Temple Terrace, that are not LAP certified, be able to match up sales tax funds with grants and be able to implement those, bring those on board. We would also then be able to provide some support to HART with a planning level engineer, should HART need that for like bus stop improvements, station improvements, that kind of thing. So that would be my suggestion, but I am certainly open to your ideas and priorities.
Thank you for that. Are there any comments at this time with regards to that?
I don't see any hands raised.
I don't either. Okay. That was good summary. It's good to be thinking about it. I think probably as people come with more desires and thoughts about that, they know that we have this opportunity should the transportation plan be passed by the voters. And with that, if there is any old, new business, and seeing none, we stand adjourned until 10 o'clock.
Good morning. I see we have a caller calling.
Greetings, Hillsborough County. My name is CJ Roberts, and I'm the president and CEO of the Tampa Bay History Center and the chair of the Hillsborough Arts Council. This year, Hillsborough County is participating in a nationwide art and economic prosperity study to gather information about local nonprofit arts and cultural organizations. Now, if you're as passionate about the arts as I am, then you already know that a vibrant arts community helps local businesses thrive, invests in our county's economic well-being, and enhances overall quality of life. In order to show the impact the arts have on our community, we need your help. So if you're out and about at an arts event or a museum, you might be selected to take a quick, completely anonymous survey as part of this important study. Please consider participating in this survey, as it will help support the Hillsborough County arts community. The comprehensive data needed for this study is not possible without your help. So please take the survey and let's make art count.
Flossing in the morning is a really great way to keep your teeth healthy and start the day. But when you're through, here's what you do. Throw it in the trash, don't flush it. There's a problem lots of people don't know, called sanitary sewer overflow. A condition buried deep in the ground, inside a pipe where bad clouds are found. It's a problem we can all help solve, so throw it in the trash, don't flush it. Baby wipes, bandages, cotton pads, paper towels, dental floss, clog up bad. Medicines, kitty litter, cotton swabs, hair. Throw them in the trash, don't flush it. It just takes a second to do the right thing, so toss it and let's keep our pipes clean. Throw it in the trash, don't flush it. If it's not toilet paper, don't flush it. Even if it says you can, don't flush it. If you're having any doubts, don't flush it. One more time, don't flush it.
Is your local business or organization looking to give back to the community? Help keep our roads clean by joining the Adopt a Road program administered by Keep Tampa Bay Beautiful. Keeping our roads clean is a great way for team building as well as exposure for your business. Select the road your business wants to adopt and dispatch a team to remove litter and debris. Participants will receive 2 signs showing their organization's name as well as safety equipment and instructions for cleaning roads. You can help keep Tampa Bay beautiful by adopting your own road today. To learn more, visit hcflgov.net/cleanhc.
This is Dave. Dave doesn't know his home's flood zone and was not able to heed flood warnings. Dave and his home are soaked. This is Noah. Noah is an informed citizen. He was warned in advance about potential flooding in his area. Noah took precautions. Noah is dry.
And I saved the animals too.
Good job, Noah. When it comes to flood warnings, be like Noah, not like Dave. For more information, visit hcfl.gov.net. Be safe, be informed, know your flood zone.
You know what I like about my morning commute? It's time to reflect. Ponder those big questions. Who are we? Why are we here? Sometimes you just gotta take those bumps in the road and keep on moving forward.
Dude, you couldn't possibly be any more wrong. Stop the car.
That's deep. Like me. I can respect that.
Dude, it's a pothole. I could report it to Hillsborough County right now as a customer service request. Just choose your service and select the issue. Your browser pinpoints the problem, and you can add any important information and even take a picture. It puts Hillsborough County at your service 24/7.
Well, all right.
Tampa Bay is like no place else.
Wait, you can't recycle the bag. You have to throw it away.
Proper recycling keeps it that way for everyone. Bags tangle in machinery and can bring sorting efforts to a halt.
No bags.
Trash the bags and keep our recycling program moving forward.
No, Mom, look, no plastic bags.
Do your part to keep our recycling bag-free. Trash the tanglers or return them to participating retailers. For more information, visit tampabayrecycles.org.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Hillsborough TPA, Transportation Planning Organization. Today is Wednesday, September 14th. Let's all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance together. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Cohen?
Here.
Commissioner Kemp?
Here.
Commissioner Overman?
Here.
Commissioner Myers?
Here.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Councilmember Maniscalco? Councilmember Citro?
Here.
Councilmember Hurtak?
Here.
Mayor Ross?
Here.
Mayor Kilton? Joe Lopano?
Here.
Adelie LeGrand?
Here.
Greg Slater?
Here.
Charles Klug?
Here.
Planning Commissioner Powell?
Here.
Board Member Vaughn?
Here.
We do have an in-person quorum. Chair, would you please call for a vote of consent for remote participation?
Yes, may we have unanimous consent for remote member participation? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, I will at this time entertain a motion for approval of the minutes of the August 10th, 2022 meeting.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Myers. I'm not sure who made the second. Mr. Lopano, thank you. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are going to move on now to public comment. I have 4 speakers signed up. I believe one of them is going to be donating time to the other. The first is Christopher Hatton.
Christopher Hatton has not called in. I'm not seeing him on the line.
All right, our second speaker is Rick Fernandez, and I believe Candace Savitz is here, and she would like to donate her time to Mr. Fernandez. Is that correct?
I believe Candace Savitz did request that during the last meeting, but she has disconnected from the line.
All right, well, actually, I think she needs to be here in order to do that. We did hear from her at the policy committee. Mr. Fernandez, are you there?
I am.
Okay, you can go ahead.
Thank you, and I'll take my 3 minutes gladly. First of all, good morning. Rick Fernandez. I'm vice chair of your CAC, appearing here in my individual capacity. I incorporate by reference the comments I submitted in writing yesterday evening or yesterday afternoon. My comments this morning will focus on the CAC and tie into your consent agenda item 6A, the appointment of a planning commission nominee to the CAC. I will first note the planning commission seat on the CAC has been vacant since only August. I find this interesting since we on the CAC have been told appointments should be slow walked while the CAC undergoes an organizational review at the hands of TPO staff. It is also interesting to note that Director Alden asked all of you just last month to hold off on appointments secondary to that same organizational review. The ability of CAC to do its work is dependent on members showing up and actively being engaged. The filling of seats should be accomplished in a timely, even-handed, and fair way. That is not the look of what is happening now. As of September 7, the CAC attendance report shows 23 seats on the committee. Of those, 4 are vacant, and 3, excluding the Planning Commission, have been vacant for months. For example, Women at Large, that seat has been vacant all year, and Council Hurtek's appointment, that seat has been vacant since March when Council Dingfelder left. At least 6 of my CAC colleagues have logged 3 or more absences this year. One of these, the People Under 30 appointee at large, hasn't been seen since March. Considering vacancies and spotty attendance, I suggest the voices of Council Hurtek and Maniscalco are not being consistently represented on the CAC, if at all. The same is true of Commissioner Overman and the City of Temple Terrace. At-large constituencies are also being muted. In addition to the at-large seats already mentioned, neighborhoods has also been vacant all year. If the goal is to be inclusive, we are all missing the mark. We do not need a complete revamp of the CAC, as TPO staff is now trying to accomplish. We need to do a better job with the rules and procedures we have. If you have an appointment to make, please make it, and make it soon. If your current appointee has lost interest or is otherwise no longer able to serve, please replace them. Our current situation leads to inconsistent results and leaves open to question the true voice of the CAC. I'll note my motion to strike 2 lane movements from the DTI. We've had 3 different results since March. On the odd occasion when the votes actually impact the lives of people, this level of uncertainty is not acceptable. I'm
Mr.
over
Fernandez.
my time. I thank you for your courtesy.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, and Sharon Calvert.
Hello, this is Sharon Calvert,
morning.
and I just wanted to point out that the agenda item titled status of board requests for evaluating I-275 Bears Hillsborough under the Executive Director's Report misrepresents the action that the board actually requested at the June TPO meeting. At that meeting, the action requested by the board is requesting the removal of FDOT's planned additional 2 lanes of I-275 North from the TPO's long-range transportation plan, so they are no longer in the LRTP. Apparently, this TPO board does not want future TPOs to, quote, get stuck with this. Such action and use of such nomenclature is quite appalling for the hundreds of thousands of residents, tourists, and businesses who use I-275 in the Tampa Bay area, many whom use Moffitt Center, go to Busch Gardens, go to USF, hospitals, etc., that are in that part of Hillsborough County off of 275. But precedence has already been set. Rail projects have been in the TPO's LRTP for decades. They were never removed even after the 2010 rail tax was overwhelmingly defeated. And after voters clearly rejected the rail, those projects remained in the LRTP, and this board never requested that they be removed so future TOPs are not stuck dealing with them. While the rail projects require a massive new, up to $23 billion new sales tax, FDOT plans to add additional capacity to I-275 with taxes we already pay. I-275 has been evaluated and reevaluated for decades. So this agenda item really is incorrectly titled and misleads the public. I would hope that no agenda item should mislead the public, and I hope that the board requests that that does not happen again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That is, I think, the entire list. Is there any additional public comment?
I'm not seeing any on the WebEx.
Okay, thank you very much. We are going to move on now to committee reports and advance comments. Bill Roberts, who is the CAC chair, is here, and he will be followed by Davita Franklin from TPO staff and Beth Alden. Mr. Roberts, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the TPO board. I'm Bill Roberts. I'm happy to appear before you with a report of our monthly meeting of the Citizens Advisory Committee. The committee met on September 7th.
His microphone, you can tell him.
Oh, can you turn your microphone on? There you go. Thank you.
Push button. Oh, how's that?
That's excellent.
All right.
Yeah.
Hopefully you heard the first part. I won't start over again, but I am Bill Roberts, the chair of your Citizens Advisory Committee. Your committee met last week on September the 7th. We considered 3 action items. The first was the approval of the roll forward TIP amendment, which was approved by our committee 13-1. I think that item is on your agenda for today. We also approved the SIS cost feasibility plan. Another item that is on your agenda today was approved by the CAC. We discussed considerable reorganization options for the Citizens Advisory Committee. We had asked staff to come back with some specific recommendations. They came back with 6 or 7 very specific conditions, most of them in line with our thinking. But the committee did pass approval of 4 of those. One is we have decided that going forward, the Citizens Advisory Committee will meet in the evenings, somewhere around the 5:30 or 6 o'clock time, in order to afford more public participation. We've also agreed as a committee to try to rotate our meetings 2 or 3 times a year to other locations around the county, again, to afford greater opportunity and access for the citizens. We agreed to continue the hybrid format as long as it's appropriate, and like you, we take a vote when we have a quorum to allow those remote committee members to participate and to actively vote on items. And finally, we decided to maintain a quorum regardless of the number of committee members that may be in the new organizational structure. We decided that a quorum of 7 would probably be adequate and afford us the opportunity to move forward. We're thinking about a citizens committee that will expand from maybe 23 at its current point to somewhere around 30 or a few more than that in order to afford some additional open seats. In other status reports, the Citizens Advisory Committee took a vote and passed a motion to support the transportation surtax, which is coming up in November. In a status report, we had invited HART to provide some detailed information as to how their funds might be used from the surtax. They were not able to respond, and we're hopeful that they can come back at the next meeting and give us some details on that. Our entire committee report in greater detail is in your board packet, but I'll be happy to take any questions if any of the members have so. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roberts. I am not seeing any hands at this time. Ms. Franklin, good morning.
Good morning, Davita Franklin with the Hillsborough TPO, and here is your report, your committee reports and public comments. So because the Technical Advisory Committee did have their meeting this past Monday, the 12th, you do not have a report for that committee in your board packet. And we also don't have any material from the other committees other than the Citizens Advisory Committee that you just heard their report. We don't have anything from them pertaining to your consent agenda or your action items or your status updates. So what I'm about to present to you is the report for the Technical Advisory Committee, which also includes those things. So pertaining to today's action items, that committee did approve the Transportation Improvement Program Roll Forward Amendment for 2022 that you will consider today. And then they also approved the Florida Department of Transportation Strategic Intermodal System, or SIS, Cost Feasible Plan Letter of Comment. The committee also suggested that the letter could also ask for consideration of wrong-way driving reduction treatments at the interchange projects. Pertaining to your status reports, the Tampa International Airport Master Plan Update was presented to that committee as well, and there was positive feedback. Members had interest in whether the Tampa International Airport would become a hub airport with the addition of the new Airside D, and the committee also appreciated the Blue Express curbside service, the amazing flamingo sculpture, and the ability to pay reduced parking online. Some additional notes from the Technical Advisory Committee are that they heard a status report on the Tampa Vision Zero implementation through maintenance, and they do feel that the approach to advancing Vision Zero projects through maintenance was very impressive, especially the fact that at most there is only an 18% overage in cost to a programmed maintenance project to add features that greatly benefit safety to cyclists and pedestrians. So for your summary of public comments, these comments were received by email. You do have a summary of the comments from that we received on social media. We did not receive any comments for the Transportation Improvement Program Roll Forward Amendment. So Mitch Perry of Bay 9 News, he did ask if the county had any future plans for diesel-powered multi-unit trains. Mauricio Rosas gave suggestions for changing bad driving behavior. Eng Jin Mo thanked Assistant Executive Director Allison Ye for presenting to the U.S. Singapore Third County Training Program. Neil Constantino advocated for repurposing the soon-to-be-demolished northbound span of the Howard Franklin Bridge. And Rick Fernandez, Vice Chair of the Citizens Advisory Committee, did ask for data on high-speed crashes and injuries at the downtown interchange. You also heard his comments earlier, which he did send to us about his concerns with the Citizens Advisory Committee makeup, as well as a summary of the meeting that the Tampa Heights Civic Association did have. Sharon Calvert made a public records request for a copy of the status of the board's request for evaluating I-275 between Beers and Hillsborough Avenues. Tammany McDaniel of Health Choice Network requested a letter of support for an upcoming USDA grant application. Olivia George of the Tampa Bay Times asked for an estimate of the amount of transportation surtax collections that would be paid by non-residents and tourists. And then Don Balaban requested a letter of comment on the Florida Department of Transportation study of US 301. So again, you have these attachments in your board folder, and this concludes my report. And now Beth Alden will give you an update on the policy committee meeting that just occurred. Thank you.
Thank you. So briefly, the policy committee had a really great discussion with DOT's statewide coordinator for the new FDOT electric vehicle facility plan for the state. And so FDOT is looking towards using the new funds in the bipartisan infrastructure law to improve electric vehicle electric vehicle charging opportunities statewide, has designated corridors to focus on, and actively wants to partner with MPOs and local governments. There is a portion of that new federal funding that is competitive, that MPOs and local governments can compete for. And so we had a good conversation about opportunities to partner, what that looks like, who the players are, a little bit about what the financial situation looks like. And in conclusion, our TPO is going to be undertaking a more detailed study this year of electric vehicle facility needs here in Hillsborough County. We're getting ready to kick that off. And so if your local government would like us to support a possible grant opportunity, we definitely want to hear from you and be able to work with you so that our planning analysis will help support your grant pursuit. Thank you.
All right. If there is no further discussion at this time, Ms. Hartak, did you raise your hand? Oh, okay. We would like to entertain a motion for passage of the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Kemp, seconded by Commissioner Myers. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The motion passes. We have two action items this morning. The first is a tip roll forward amendment for 2022. Connor McDonald from TPO staff will present this item. Good morning.
Good morning, Connor McDonald, TPO staff. I'll wait till Cheryl's able to pull up the slides. There we go. I'm here to present the tip roll forward amendment for 2022. Next slide, please. So before I get into what a roll forward amendment is, I'll first have a refresher on the tip and work program timeline. So following this tip that will be adopted or begin October 1st, 2022, in last July of 2021, FDOT began developing the 5-year work program, which is also known as the state tip or STIP. And then in April, FDOT provided us a tentative work program, and we used that to develop what you know as Table 3, all their projects funded in the next 5 years. And then in June, of course, you all passed the tip, and in July, FDOT approved their work program. And then, of course, the tip will become effective October 1st. And I wanted to note here that when funding is allocated, it must be spent in the fiscal year that it's allocated to. It cannot be banked for future use. So next slide, please. So what happens when the roll forward amendment occurs is that between July and April, Project X, for example, is scheduled for completion by June of the following year. So therefore, it's not included in the work program or the STIP, and thus it's not included in our TIP in Table 3. So what happens is due to project scheduling or a host of other reasons, the funds are not committed or authorized in the fiscal year 22, and therefore it must roll forward into the next fiscal year. So funding increases or decreases are limited to minor fluctuations. And I also wanted to note that because these projects have already been in the TIP, this presentation will focus more on the funding rather than the projects themselves. Next slide, please. So there are 3 projects as part of one amendment, one roll forward amendment. So the first project is FDOT's Westshore Interchange Major Reconstruction. The phase is remaining the same in preliminary engineering and right-of-way. It's about $305 million, and this is a net change of a difference of about $1.2 million. And this is a 0.39% change. The next project is City of Tampa's Flora, Nebraska Complete Streets project. It's construction for the same amount of about $3 million. And finally, Hart's new maintenance facility, the phases capital for $4 million. Next slide, please. So FDOT's Westshore Interchange major reconstruction. This slide is comparing as it was in fiscal year 22 TIP, the TIP we're currently in, and fiscal year 23 TIP, which will become effective October 1st. So I tried to align these so you could see the fiscal years remaining the same. There are some differences in fiscal year 23 where it's increased, and a slight increase in fiscal year 24, but overall a total net change of a difference of $1.2 million. Next slide, please. So City of Tampa's Flora, Nebraska Complete Streets project, again, the same of about $3 million, just moving from fiscal year 22 to fiscal year 23. And next slide, please. Hart's maintenance facility. This is what you all adopted in the TIP amendment in fiscal year 22 in March. This $4 million in SU funds is moving from fiscal year 22 to fiscal year 23. And the reason you would see that $11 million in the prior years in the second chart is because when we first received the amendment in March, we were not made aware that there was funding allocated under different funding codes originally. And then when we received this roll forward amendment, we were made aware of that. So for transparency's sake, we of course did include that $11 million. And I also wanted to note here that you did pass or motion to move $4 million in SU funds for, I believe, 5 fiscal years. I would have to double check on that. But when that work program was being developed in July of last year, you also moved in November. So those $4 million in outer funds were not then included in the work program. Now, this year, when FDOT is working on that work program, they have included that $4 million in the outer years. So we will see that in the next TIP cycle. Next slide, please. So as part of the recently adopted Public Participation Plan Amendment, we did include public outreach. So 21 days prior to today, we did issue a press release, post on social media, and release a web page. And additional steps for property owners near the Westshore Interchange who may be affected by delay and right-of-way acquisition. We also posted 2 signs near the interchange and mailed about 170 flyers to property owners along the interchange. So next slide, please. So the committee summaries, the Citizens Advisory Committee did meet on September 7th. They approved the roll forward amendment and recommended approval to the TPO board. They did ask that in the future, TPO staff include the reason for project delays and future roll forward amendments. And the Technical Advisory Committee this Monday did approve the roll forward amendment and recommend approval to you all. And finally, the last slide. So today, the recommended action is to approve the roll forward amendment consisting of 3 projects to the fiscal year 22-23 TIP. In the final slide, I'll take any comments or questions or discussion.
Okay, any questions from board members? At the moment, I cannot see the online participants.
Hertak.
Yes.
Mayor Ross.
Yes.
Mayor Kilton.
Yes.
Joe Lopano.
Yes.
Adelie LeGrand.
Yes.
Greg Slater. Charles Klug.
Yes.
Planning Commissioner Powell.
Yes.
Board Member Vaughn.
Yes.
The motion passes 15-0.
Okay, thank you very much. We are going to move on to our next action item, which is the FDOT Strategic Intermodal System Cost Feasible Plan Letter of Comment, and I believe Johnny Wong is going to present that. Good morning.
Good morning, board members. Johnny Wong, TPO staff, and you're right, I'm here to brief you on the SIS Cost Feasible Plan Letter of Comment. Cheryl, would you mind pulling up the first PowerPoint slide? All right, the first thing I want to note is that SIS stands for Strategic Intermodal System, and CFP is Cost Feasible Plan. The Strategic Intermodal System is Florida's high-priority network of transportation facilities that the state has deemed are critical to its continued economic growth and mobility. Facilities on the SIS are considered to be significant for interregional, interstate, and sometimes even international travel. As you can see from the atlas map that's shown on the right side of this slide, in addition to rail corridors and roadways, some additional facilities appear on the CIS, including Amtrak Station, Tampa International Airport, CSX Station, the Port, MacDill Air Force Base, and Port Red Wing to the south. Those all fall under the banner of CIS facilities. The CIS cost feasible plans typically updated every 2 to 3 years, kind of fluctuates, but it's timed in accordance with revenue projections for the state. So as those revenue projections get dialed in and become available, the cost feasible plan follows that update cycle. And projects that are listed on the cost feasible plan typically will become cost feasible over a time horizon of between 11 to 25 years. So it definitely looks pretty far out into the future. Next slide, please, Cheryl. Leading up to the cost feasible plan update, MPOs around the state have been asked to provide comments on projects that are in the draft plan. The draft plan that we received from FDOT District 7 includes 43 priority projects spanning across Hernando, Pasco, Polk, Pinellas, and Hillsborough County. But more than half of the 43 projects are located in our county. So we took a look at all of the projects listed in the draft plan, and we prepared a letter of comment addressing each project, basically stating whether or not it's consistent with our transportation improvement program and the long-range transportation plan. We also looked at the merits of each project, timing, whether coordination will be needed in the future, and just any other considerations that we think that the district should pay attention to. What you're seeing on this slide is a map showing not only CIS projects, but all widening projects that show up in our long-range transportation plan. The majority of them are on CIS facilities, and those are colored in purple. The other ones that are local projects, I believe, are colored in green. So now getting to the projects in the letter. That letter is included in your agenda packet, so I'll just kind of go through according to the topic and note anything important that we want to mention. So beginning from the top, the segment of 275 from north of Lois Ave to north of Howard Ave and from north of Howard to Hillsborough River, we noted that the two projects are supported in the TIP. They're currently ranked number 69 out of 95 on the list of priority projects. We believe that the additional travel lanes will provide an important connection to job clusters in Westshore and downtown. We also noted that these are identified as lane management strategies or lane management projects, and so we asked for District 7 to engage the TPO early in the process before the toll strategy has been decided. The second segment is I-4 eastbound from east of Orient Road to west of 75. We believe that this project will improve access to 75 in eastern Hillsborough County. We believe also that that project should be consistent with Hillsborough County, which has a road widening project in its plan between Sly Ave and Columbus Drive, so that project will need to be coordinated. The third is US 41 from south of Pendola Point, Madison Ave to south of Causeway Boulevard. That project will support goods movement in the county and across the region. It provides a valuable connection to a minor job cluster, not minority job cluster. That project does appear in the TIP, and it's currently ranked number 86 on the list of priority projects. It's also consistent with both Hillsborough and Polk County freight logistics strategies plans. The next project that we commented on is SR 60 from Dover Road to SR 39 and from SR 39 out to the Polk County line. Those projects are not included in the 2045 long-range transportation plan. We believe that there are a lot of priorities that should come first. We request in the letter that the department provide the rationale for widening that segment that runs through rural eastern Hillsborough County. It lies outside of the urban services boundary. There's also a need on SR 60 for safety treatments. There's a segment of SR 60 that ranks as the highest segment on our high injury network in all of Hillsborough County, and so widening would fall much lower on the priority list in terms of needs across the county. The next list of projects are all on I-275, interchange modifications at the interchanges on Bears Ave, Bush Boulevard, Fowler Ave, and Fletcher. We note that there are improvements needed at these interchanges. They're actually critically needed. We did some rough crash analyses, and we've learned that there are 2,000 crashes near these interchanges in just the last 5 years, many of which have resulted in fatalities and injuries. The others that did not result in fatalities and injuries are, they facilitate a lot of congestion and they contribute to unreliable travel times. We note that special attention should be paid to the design of treatments located at the on and off ramps around these interchanges, as they're frequently sources of crashes. High visibility crosswalks, lighting, and speed management strategies are all treatments that we're hoping the district will consider. Next is I-4 interchange modifications eastbound from east of Orient Road to west of 75, and at the Polk County line, McIntosh Road and Branch Forbes Road. We're imploring the district to consider diverging diamond interchanges, which would be consistent with FDOT design criteria. Next, I-275 from north of Hillsborough Ave to south of Bears Ave. Some months ago, this board requested that staff prepare a presentation on what the impacts would be of removing 2 lanes through this segment from the long-range transportation plan. We have not yet made that presentation to you. We hope to deliver that in October. So at this time, it's not really clear whether or not this project is supported. We're going to present the presentation, or we're going to make that presentation to you and then see what the next steps are. And lastly, we comment on the various managed lane projects that are listed across the cost feasible plan priority list. We're requesting that, for clarity, the districts specify which managed lane strategies are under consideration. As we previously noted, the TPO should be engaged early in the process, and our participation invited regarding toll rates. Lastly, so the SIS policy plan has invited MPOs to propose projects on parallel facilities that run, or on facilities that run parallel to the strategic intermodal system. Specifically projects like safety, resilience, advanced traffic management systems, and capacity projects on those parallel facilities. They're now eligible expenditures under the SIS policy plan update. So staff have identified several safety, reliability, congestion, and resilience projects for consideration. Since we mailed out this letter in your agenda packet, the list of projects has now been triple checked, and there are a couple of segments that have been corrected. Namely, Kennedy Boulevard and Bush Boulevard are not on the SIS, so we dropped segments on Bush and 2 segments of SR 60 from the reliability paragraph. And in the resilience paragraph, at the very end of the letter, we dropped segments on SR 60 and added 3. The first addition is on Causeway Boulevard, which is considered a SIS connector link, and also 2, one on 20th Street and 22nd Street, which connect the port to the Selman Expressway. Those segments are all vulnerable to inundation, and so we added them to the list of resilience projects. We are asking for your approval of the letter today, and I'm requesting any feedback, any additions, deletions, or modifications to any of the language would be appreciated. And at this time, I'll turn it over to you for questions or discussion.
Thank you, and Commissioner Smith, you're recognized.
Thank you. I think Commissioner Overman's hand was raised first, but I'm happy to go.
I'm not sure which of you raised it first. I'm going to go to Commissioner Overman next, if that's all right.
Okay, okay, fine with me. My comment is about the part of the letter where it is under the first bullet about I-275 and north of Lois, and saying, for clarity, please specify which managed lane strategies are under consideration, and please engage TPO staff early in the process of establishing the toll rate. And then the last bullet in that section also addresses various managed lane projects on interstate facilities, and says, for clarity, please specify which managed lane strategies are under consideration. And as previously noted, the TPA should be engaged early in the process regarding toll lanes. As many of you know, I feel a lot stronger about, well, I'm opposed to tolling lanes on public facilities. And we have, I know that is not a unanimous position on this board, but we have in the past put in stronger language. And so I'm hoping that we can come to a consensus to do that here. To me, for the newer members, the process of managing lanes by charging the public extra money to drive on them, Lexus lanes, is managing traffic by making it too expensive for some people to drive on. So only the people who can afford to can drive on them. It is creating a two-tiered system on a public facility. So it's giving a first-class experience to those who pay extra to use the public facility paid for by everyone's public tax dollars, only to those in an upper tax bracket, and keeping the people who can't afford to drive on it out of their way. And that's not only distasteful to me, I feel like that's not the role of government with public facilities. So, you know, we can, whenever we have this discussion, and we've had it a lot, we hear that, hey, managed lanes can be managed in many ways. It can be managed a lot of ways, not only tolling, and we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. And then we get to that bridge and we have already decided we're doing tolling. And so what I'm hoping for is that we could put language in this letter similar to what we've had in a previous letter from this TPO board. And that that says this: the TPO supports lane management strategies that incentivize high occupancy vehicles, alternative fuels, and transit, and that facilitate emergency response, evacuations, and safer movement of freight. The TPO has concerns about adding new toll lanes, new tolls in an interstate highway corridor that has been supported with public dollars. We would like the opportunity to be closely involved when the department begins drafting its lane management approach, and the TPO requests to be notified of the lane management approach before the design phase of preliminary and engineering is proposed to be funded. So, you know, I recognize that in the case of the Westshore interchange, some of this water is under the bridge already, but I would still like, you know, at least at the end of this letter, to have this stronger statement from the TPO rather than, you know, we're just looking for clarity about which managed lane strategies are under consideration, as it says now, and asking to be engaged in the decision making. I'd like us to continue to express the position we've expressed before, that we support lane management strategies that incentivize these other methods, and that we have concerns about adding new tolls in interstate highway corridor that's been supported with public dollars.
Second.
Yeah, I'm going to treat that as a motion that has now been seconded. Commissioner Overman did have her hand up, so why don't we go to her next? And I'm assuming that people will want to discuss this motion and anything else that they might want to add to it, or maybe we'll take it up on its own. Let's hear what Commissioner Overman has to say, and then we'll go to the room.
Thank you, and thank you, Commissioner Smith. You went exactly where I was going. However, what you know, my memory isn't always perfect, but I do recall this board did actually pass a motion that required that any project that would require a managed strategy or a toll facility as part of the planning, would need to be approved by this board prior to any of the design for it. That we understand that there's multiple methods to manage lanes, and that if tolling were any part of a recommended strategy, that it would have to come before the board prior to actually being a recommended or planned method. So I believe, Commissioner Smith, your motion does cover that, but I think we already did that. And I just want to make sure that in today's support of the CIS projects, that it is readily clear that all managed lanes scenarios would have to have specific approval if it included tolling as any part of the strategy. And there was reference to, we should consider the TPO before going to toll rates, but that isn't necessarily true. We have voted to say it's required to come to the TPO prior to considering any toll rates. And I may be mistaken, but I could have sworn we already did that. Is that can anyone attest to the fact that we've already made that decision?
Well, I'd like Ms. Alden to address your question directly. Commissioner Overman.
Commissioner, that's a great question, and I think that the point is in particular, we've talked about the quote-unquote point of no return statute, and how do we know what the strategies are before the department moves into the design phase of preliminary engineering, which is cited in the statute. And I think that's what we've laid out in the letter, that we would reiterate our position that we need to be informed about what the management strategies are before that design phase is scheduled. And that's something that we are going to have to continue to monitor as staff, to be honest. I wouldn't expect the department to necessarily monitor that. We'll be checking that with the annual updates of the Transportation Improvement Program.
So in the presentation we've heard today, are we authorizing the use of toll rating in the projects that were discussed on this list that are for managed lanes?
I think that if you add that language that Commissioner Smith was quoting, which was our letter of comment about the I-75 PD&E studies in the spring, that we will be laying down our position that we need to know what the management strategy is before the next phase proceeds.
Yeah, because there were several items on the list that listed managed lanes, and not specifically that Mr. Wong actually mentioned, but on the actual list, managed lanes were in multiple sections of this particular SIS report, and that's why I was asking the question. But thank you for some clarity. I will support the motion.
Let me just, I don't see any hands in the room, and let me just point out, the reason I think Commissioner Smith's motion is appropriate is because the letter as it's stated now just asks that we be consulted related to toll rates. It concedes the entire question of whether or not they should be there or not. And let's be very clear. Her motion is not to prohibit the use of tolls. Her motion is simply to make sure that we are involved in the discussion. Isn't that right, Commissioner Smith? Isn't that at the point of it?
Yes, and also because the letter that we have, the draft in front of us is, and even in what Ms. Alden was saying is about requesting that we be informed, requesting, them to specify which managed lane strategies. And what I would like is for us to reiterate that the kinds of management strategies we support and that we have concerns about adding tolls. So that is not saying we, won't support tolls, although that is what I would say if I could get a majority vote. What it is saying, though, is that we have concerns, so it's reiterating that we have concerns and also the kinds of management strategies we support.
And there's a difference between being consulted and informed.
Yes, yes.
Commissioner Smith, did you have your hand up? Commissioner Kemp, I'm sorry.
Thank you. And I just, I think and it was language apparently used before, the motion that Commissioner Smith made is so well stated, and with the, how Commissioner Cohen also addressed that. I want to ask one more question of staff with regards to this, because in past years, we have absolutely had a vote by this board to prohibit any toll lanes going from north of the downtown interchange, segment 7, through Fletcher Avenue, Bears Avenue. However, what I see there as a proposed design still on the long-range transportation plan couldn't be more than looking at a absolute express lane, and I've been told a toll managed lane with a separated barrier and internal lane. I don't know what else it would ever be. And I'm just, we absolutely prohibited by a majority vote of this board. I don't know, Commissioner Cohen, if you were on at that time. And because that was a real knockdown, drag out, long evening meeting. And I'm just wondering, because as I understand too, it could be, despite the fact of our board, that may be something that wouldn't be adhered to. I don't know. So I'm just wondering about including that exact prohibition and vote. I mean, it was supported by a majority vote on this board since I've been on here. And I'm wondering about including that prohibition in the letter, or how that gets addressed specifically, even outside of this.
Go ahead, but I mean, we have a motion on the floor. Why don't we let Ms. Alden speak to, I'm not entirely sure what vote you're referring to, so perhaps you could clarify this if you can recall.
Sure, and so there was a proposal a few years ago for I-275 north of down Tampa to have express toll lanes on it, similar to what would be going through the Westshore interchange. And this board did take a position about that. And what is being proposed now by the DOT is the addition of 2 general purpose lanes. So they would not be tolled, they would not be express toll lanes. That addition of the 2 general purpose lanes was adopted by this board in our long-range transportation plan, and we'll be having a discussion about that project next month.
Okay, I guess I also wondered about the separation of those lanes, as I understand that's in the plan now. So if they were separated, how could they be general purpose lanes?
So maybe there's some confusion there. We were looking at the cross section earlier this week, and so maybe what you're thinking of is the lanes for express bus service. And so there was a proposal in coordination with T-BARTA to put the regional rapid transit project in that I-275 corridor, to take the shoulders of I-275, reinforce those for bus use, and create a little bit of separation, I think about a 3-foot separation between those bus-only shoulders and the general purpose lanes. But the idea that there would be express toll lanes, like we've talked about at the Westshore interchange, that is off the table. It's not in the long-range transportation plan. It's not in this new SIS cost feasible list that we've gotten from DOT.
Okay, I guess, and I just wanted to clarify, and I guess we'll have to continue working on this, but those are being used as general purpose lanes as we speak because of the construction, and to restrict those and not have them any longer be general purpose lanes would, I think, not be true to what this board voted some years ago. I mean, I think that they were very clear about what they wanted, but I guess we can go there. I thought it was apropos to this discussion, and I understand why it kind of overlaps in an odd way, but I really wanted to clarify and understand.
Okay, so we do have a motion on the floor from Commissioner Smith. I believe it was seconded by Commissioner Kemp. Is there any, Ms. LeGrand? Yes, and then Mr. Klug.
Is it possible, just for a point of clarity, to restate the motion that's on the floor?
Yes, yeah, let me ask Commissioner Smith if you're able to restate the motion. If not, we'll see if the clerk is
Also,
able to do
before
it.
she restates it, where would that actually go in the letter? Just restate it, and where would it be inserted?
I believe it was in the two paragraphs that she identified, but Commissioner Smith, let me ask you did you hear the questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so, I think there are two places where in the letter it talks about, we just want to be informed about tolling. Certainly in that last bullet on page, it's in page 67 of the packet, the last bullet says, various managed lane projects on interstate facilities. For clarity, please specify which managed lane strategies are under consideration. See, it's just asking them to specify. As previously noted, the TPO should be engaged in early in the process to participate in the decision-making process regarding toll lanes. And so there, I would like to use the same language that we had used before. The TPO supports lane management strategies that incentivize high occupancy vehicles, alternative fuels, and transit, and that facilitate emergency response, evacuations, and safer movement of freight. The TPO, period. The TPO has concerns about adding new tolls in an interstate highway corridor that has been supported with public dollars. And then, it can, instead of asking them to specify, it could include the other text that we included before. We would appreciate the opportunity to be closely involved when the department begins drafting its lane management approach. The TPO requests to be notified of the lane management approach before the design phase of preliminary engineering is proposed to be funded. And I think that's all appropriate at this last one that is talking in general about various lane management strategies. At the first one that specifies this I-275 thing, for clarity, please specify which, I would still ask there, or reiterate there that TPO has concerns about adding new tolls in an interstate highway corridor that has been supported with public dollars. So that's the motion.
Okay. Go ahead, I'm sorry. Mr. Slater, did you have your hand up? I can't tell. Your light is on.
I did.
Okay.
But I'm still a little bit confused. My one concern that I'm trying to figure out if it's a legitimate concern or not is some of the language seems to be eliminating certain strategies before we've seen an analysis of those strategies. And so that's my concern is taking some tools out of the toolbox before we know what's effective and what's not. I'm not concerned about things coming before the board and looking at some analysis, but I'm still a little bit confused in terms of the language and whether that change would say that.
Thanks for the question. I think if I'm capturing Commissioner Smith's suggestions appropriately, the language that she's speaking to was in a letter that was transmitted to the DOT back in April of this year, I believe, regarding a PD&E on I-75. So the text that I have, not verbatim, but I will try to make it as close to the original as possible. The TPO supports lane management strategies that incentivize high occupancy vehicles, alternative fuels, transit usage, and which facilitate emergency response, evacuations, and safe and reliable goods movement. the TPO has concerns about adding new tolls on an interstate highway corridor supported with public dollars. We appreciate the opportunity to be closely consulted when the department begins designing its lane management approach before the design phase of preliminary engineering. Commissioner Smith, did I capture that accurately?
Close enough.
Yes, Mayor,
Yes, thank you.
then the next mayor after that.
Okay. I'm
Sorry about that.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have some concerns about this too. I just think we're getting the cart before the horse a little bit. Two things. One is, as Mr. Slater stated, I'm concerned about if not taking options off the table, at least we're clearly signaling that we don't want to hear those options. These are the other kinds of options we want to hear. So we're already taking a position on something before we've heard the benefits or the drawbacks of this. And we've turned the language of a letter into a debate over the benefits or drawbacks of tolls, which really is not what we're talking about this morning. We're talking about the language of a letter. But my biggest concern right now is that I am always reluctant to want to approve the language in a correspondence before the language is before us. I am always hesitant, even at City Council, about approving language for somebody to send. I always try to say, well, you know, why don't you bring that, draft the language and put it before us at our next meeting, because I really want to see the language. And I know it's been read, but, you know, people write language and they think they're, you know, how that works, the telephone game. It's never comes out exactly like you said. And so I understand the crux of what the motion is and what Commissioner Smith is trying to accomplish, but I think we've digressed from sending a letter, and now we've entered into a debate about the benefits. And we've done this before since I've been on the TPO. I haven't been on it forever, just 2 years. But, you know, we send these letters and we chip away and nobody has any real objection because we're talking about a letter and people just want to move forward. So they just vote in favor of it because it's just a letter. But then 2 years from now, when this comes up, I'll say, well, this board has unanimously adopted this position over time. We wrote this letter, we've always talked about this language and nobody's voiced any concerns. Well, we weren't voting on the toll lanes, we were voting on a language of a letter. And so I'm just a little concerned about that. I don't know what the timetable is on these letters. It would be I mean, if they're urgent, okay. If they're not, it would be my preference to have the actual language in front of us before we vote on it. So that's just my comment. Thank you, Commissioner.
Yes, Mayor. Unfortunately, it is urgent. We brought this before you as soon as we could with you all's schedules, but the deadline for comments is September 16th.
Okay. Mayor.
Thank you. I'm not going to regurgitate what's already been said, but I share that same position. I'm not in favor of handcuffing or limiting any potential options going forward, and I really don't like the language of stating that we're not in favor of tolls, because to that point, I may or may not be. So I share the same position as Mr. Slater and Mayor Ross. I also have a comment on another item in the letter, but I believe we're addressing the motion now, so if you could just come back to me when we
I will
finish,
do that.
appreciate that.
We will come back to you before we vote. Member Vaughn.
Thank you. So from my understanding, from what Commissioner Overman, I believe, said, is that this board has already taken a position and voted and made it very clear what our stance holistically has been on toll roads. And then from the language that I hear being suggested from Commissioner Smith, the strongest language I heard is have concerns about toll lanes, and that we would like to be consulted even further and be a partner in deciding whether that's best for our community or not. So I don't share your concerns where I hear that we're handcuffing ourselves or taking a strong stance that would stop if this iteration of the board had a different stance on toll lanes, but just making sure that as this goes forward, our response in a letter collectively from what the board had decided at some point is that we we do have concerns about whether that's a good fit for our community, whether or not there's issues of access based on how much people can afford and what that looks like, and that we do want to make sure that we're consulted and that we have full access to the information and full autonomy to make decisions for our community. So I support this amendment. Thank you.
Who else? Anyone else at this time? You know, let me tell you my concern with some of the comments that have been made is that the way the letter stands now, if we were to pass this as written, it's going to be brought up to us in 2 years that we acceded to toll lanes because it'll be said, well, you just said you wanted to be consulted about toll rates. The word that they use is rates. That completely is going to, that's what's going to be said. You said, oh, you said it was okay because you said rates. I think the purpose of the motion is simply to be consulted and be part of the decision before it's at the point of no return. That's the way I read it. I don't think it takes options off the table. I think the motion was carefully crafted not to do that. So that's just my take on it, obviously. Yeah, Mayor.
To that point, Chair, if that's the point of it, then why can't we have that language? Just that simple, instead of even addressing tolls in general. So I think, you know, Mayor Ross brings up a good point. When you start to have these letters over time and you go back and look at it, it could potentially be misconstrued that there's a position that this board is against toll roads. I think that's a very valid point. So I think just making a generic statement that we want to be part of the conversation about whatever the strategy is would be much more easy for me to support. So, I mean, I'm going to support the letter and the motion regardless, but I think I'm also being very clear on the record of my position here today for those reasons.
Commissioner Cohen?
Yes, Commissioner Overman. Thank you for jumping in.
Thank you. I think it's clear that those of us that have been in the transportation planning, budgeting, processing realm for a bit, with our, in partnership with our state agency that develops, highway systems and for people to get around on a regional basis, not on a local basis, that, the default has been tolling. Unless we've objected to it. Because what we've found is it's been described in a variety of different ways. It's been described as express lanes, it's been described as managed lanes, but at the end of the day, what ends up happening is default to toll. And so this board has previously agreed that that is not the default. The default is looking at all the other options first, and in the event that the plan would require best method to manage congestion, flow, all the above, is going to be the recommendation to use tolls, that it needs to come to this board prior to that so that we could understand that rationale and actually approve that without necessarily finding ourselves in a situation as we have had before, for example, with the Westshore interchange, that, oh, by the way, you approved that. So the letter today and the motion addresses that we aren't necessarily approving, the use of tolling as a managed lane strategy, but that we are to be notified in the event that the managed lane strategy would be, that tolling would be recommended, and this board would need to approve that. It's not to take it off the table. It's to make sure that it isn't the default and we find ourselves approving something that we find is not appropriate for Hillsborough County residents and businesses. Does that help? I hope.
Mr. Klug.
I think what Commissioner Overman just stated, if that were the amendment, I think that would probably be acceptable to most people. What she said is just that we're concerned, like to be informed. But I think the proposed amendment goes much farther than that. And as we've been talking about this morning, is that we've been referring to previous votes and saying that this is our position. I think that's what the mayors have said collectively, is that this would be our position going forward if we don't, clarify this. So I think what she just said would be perfect.
Well, Commissioner Smith.
So my motion stands because this is language that we've already sent to the DOT in, I think Mr. Wong said April. And it does put FDOT on notice that we want a little bit more than to be notified or informed, that we want to be involved because we have some concerns, and we also have other ideas about managing lanes that we support beyond the default. So I think what Commissioner Overman was trying to do was point out those elements of the sentences that we've sent before that I'm asking to be sent again on this letter. So my motion stands. Thank you.
All right. Well, with that, we do have a motion on the floor. I don't see any more discussion. Can we please have a roll call vote? Does anyone require the motion, the language to be read again? Ms. LeGrand?
I do. Thank
yes,
you.
okay, go ahead. And for the purposes of the record, Commissioner Smith, are you in a position to be able to read verbatim exactly what the language should be, or should we ask Mr. Wong to do it from the podium?
Either way is fine. He's got the same letter I have.
Okay, so let's hear it from the podium and make sure everyone's on the same page before we vote.
There were actually two parts of the motion, a modification to the first bullet point, the very beginning of the letter that states, or referencing the segment I-275 from north of Lois to north of Howard and Howard to Hillsborough River. At the end of that bullet point, the commissioner asked that we reiterate that the TPO has concerns about adding tolls on highways funded with public dollars. So that's the first part of it. The last bullet point of the letter that begins with various managed lane projects on interstate facilities. The language that I have borrowed from a previously transmitted letter. The TPO supports lane management strategies that incentivize high occupancy vehicles, alternative fuels, transit usage, and which also facilitate emergency response, evacuations, and safe and reliable goods movement. The TPO has concerns about adding new tolls on an interstate highway corridor supported with public dollars. We appreciate the opportunity to be closely consulted when the department begins designing its lane management approach before the design phase of preliminary engineering, period.
Okay, so that is the language of the motion. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Cohen?
Yes.
Commissioner Kemp?
Yes.
Commissioner Overman?
Yes.
Commissioner Myers?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Citro?
Yes.
Councilmember Hurtak?
Yes.
Mayor Ross?
No.
Mayor Kilton?
Yes.
Joe Lopano?
No.
Adelie LeGrand?
Yes.
Greg Slater?
No.
Charles Klug?
No.
Planning Commissioner Powell?
No.
Board Member Vaughn?
Yes.
The motion passes 10-5.
Okay, thank you very much. We are going to move on now to what should be a very,
I still have a comment on the letter.
that's right, thank you.
Thank you. So I don't have an issue with the language related to the widening of State Road 60 because we're just asking for further clarification from FDOT. But I do just want to make the point that I do think it's a very important project for Point City and East County. You know, we've added millions of square feet of additional industrial space in Point City recently. You've got millions of square feet on the Polk County side of County Line Road. And our projections for additional, you know, millions of industrial square feet in Point City in the not too distant future is significant. It's so much so that FDOT is constructing a truck-only rest area at County Line and Frontage Road. So there's a lot of truck traffic and a lot of issues that are happening over there. And I know it's referred to as rural, but Plant City is it's compared to Tampa and some other places, it's not that big. But when you consider Plant City proper, the outlying areas, the fact that we're on the interstate, it's not really a rural area. There's a lot going on there. So I want to make sure that we don't lose track of how important that is for my side of the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Is there anyone else on the letters before we move on to the Tampa Airport presentation? All right. Well, Mr. Lopano, I think you're up next.
Do we just pass the motion but not the letter?
Oh, we have to do the letter itself, don't we? I assumed that with that the letter went with it, but perhaps it didn't. So if we could have a motion then to pass the letter, I guess I really thought that was the letter with the changes made to it.
Move to approve the letter for the SAS cost feasibility plan.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion from Mayor Ross and a second from Ms. Vaughn. Mr. Lopano, you had your hand up.
I did, thank you. Are we voting for the letter with the amendment that I just voted no for?
Yes, that's why I thought that it was only going to require one vote to move it. But yes, we are now going to vote on the whole letter.
I think we're in a circular reference. Okay.
Whatever.
Well, the point of the matter is the language was changed. We now need to just vote on the whole letter, I'm being told.
Okay, so we're voting on the letter with the language having been changed.
Yes.
All right.
So we have a motion on the floor. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Cohen?
Yes.
Commissioner Kemp?
Yes.
Commissioner Overman?
Yes.
Commissioner Myers?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith? Councilmember Citro?
Yes.
Councilmember Hurtak?
Yes.
Mayor Ross?
Yes.
Mayor Kilton?
Yes.
Joe Lopano?
No.
Adelie LeGrand?
Yes.
Greg Slater?
No.
Charles Klug?
No.
Planning Commissioner Pell?
No.
Board Member Vaughn?
Yes.
Excuse me, my internet went out, so I'm back now. Would you please record me as a yes vote?
Thank you,
Commissioner
Commissioner
Smith.
Smith. The motion passes 11-4.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you all.
Now that item is disposed of, and we are going to move on to the Tampa Airport Master Plan and Mr. Lopano.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. I'm here today to brief you on our master plan update, and this is an item that's required by the FAA every so often. Next slide, please. Just to give you some reference, the airport has 4 airsides, currently 58 gates. We have 66 shops and restaurants. We also govern 3 general aviation airports in the county, and we have about 23,000 parking spaces. Next slide, please. We generate $14.5 billion in economic activity each year. 121,000 jobs are supported, and 10,500 people are employed by the airport and its tenants. So 10,500 people come to work every day at the airport. Next slide, please. Our largest carrier is Southwest Airlines, followed by Delta. We have 544 daily flight operations. We fly to 17 international destinations and 80 nonstop destinations in total. Our top markets are primarily East Coast markets, as you can see on the slide. Next slide, please. Our top operating revenue sources, you'll note that there are no ad valorem taxes up here on this chart because we don't take ad valorem taxes. Our number 1 revenue generator is from the airlines, $103 million. We make $77 million in parking, $51 million from rental car operators, and then food and beverage, $17 million. Next slide, please. Our passenger projection is finally going to exceed our pre-pandemic level next year, all the way up to 23.4 million passengers. Next slide. Our operating revenues also are going to increase. We're going to total $344 million next year. That's $27 million higher than this year, and we're very, very happy about that. We're going in the right direction. Next slide, please. Our market resilience update, we are at 96% of our pre-pandemic level. You can see the rest of the country is only at 91%, so we continue to outpace the recovery. Next slide, please. Our international passengers, you can see, are just about to where they were pre-pandemic. We were 16.9% below the 2019 level, and we're looking forward to welcoming Virgin Atlantic to London Heathrow coming up soon. Next slide, please. And there they are. So we've added new airlines. We've really grown much more than we thought we would after the pandemic. So Virgin Atlantic, of course, is a top brand. Breeze continues to expand out here, Avello, and we also got service back by Eurowings going to Germany. Next slide. Our top unserved markets, so these are the markets that we really are going after that we believe we can support service. San Diego was served before by Southwest and they dropped it. Sacramento's right behind that. And on the international front, Amsterdam's our top target. We had service to Amsterdam on Delta, if you recall, and they dropped it during the pandemic. But we're still after them, so we'll see where we go. Next slide. Next slide. So we had a three-phase master plan that was introduced in 2013. So the first phase was to decongest our terminal areas. So we moved the rental car center. We created an automated people mover to take you from the terminal down to the rental car center, and we increased the size of our main terminal. Second phase, which is underway, was a curbside expansion. We have the Blue Express curbs. I hope you all have tried them and like them. We also developed the Sky Center office building. We built a new central utility plant, and we expanded our roadways, which enables us to go to phase 3, which is a 16-gate international terminal. And that'll be the completion of the master plan that was introduced back in 2013. Next slide. So you can see the existing condition. The lower right-hand corner is where we park cargo airplanes right now. We will propose, we've got board approval to build a new 16-gate airside, and that would be between airside C and airside E. Next slide. So it'll be 16 gates at 3 levels, domestic and international, and the international passenger arriving facilities would be in this terminal. They'd be on the upper floor, and also a new shuttle system and guideway is envisioned. Next slide. And this will give you a rendering of what it will look like. So this is the view for an arriving international passenger. When you come in from the gate, you'll go up an escalator right away into a secure hallway right here, looking down on the concessions, looking down on a departure level. You'll then go up a small escalator to the baggage reclaim area, which will be upstairs, be nice and bright. It won't be dark like a lot of places. Then you'll clear through Customs and Border Protection, and you'll take an escalator or elevator down to a train, just like we have at the other air sides. That'll take you right back to the terminal. Now, this view is if you're departing domestic passenger. You'll go out from this new station that we'll build. And you can see you'll arrive in the terminal. If you look up on top, there's an outdoor terrace there. That's for airline clubs who wish to have an outdoor bar or restaurant area. So you get off the train and you'll walk right through under where the international passengers are arriving. You go through a very modern new TSA experience and come out on the other side into a major hall of concessions, restaurants, and various other things. Gates will be along the window wall. And you can see the upstairs element where the international passengers would arrive. And you can see the gatehouses that we will build are domestic and international capable. So if you arrive domestically, we just let you depart right into the terminal area. If you arrive internationally, we make you go up an escalator to the customs hall. Next slide, please. So the total budget for this project is $787 million. It was approved at our last board meeting by our board of directors. We'll fund it with revenue bonds of $405 million, PFC bonds $232 million, FDOT grants $111 million, and then federal infrastructure grants $38 million. We'll have a minimum CPE, impact or cost per employment, so the airlines are in favor of this and they support this project. Next slide, please. And we are doing, right now, what I'm doing is community outreach. I'm trying to brief as many people in the community about this new project, why we need this project, and how we'll fund it. Next slide. So this master plan update that we're in the middle of right now is, it studies our airfield capacity, so that means runways. Do we have enough runways to support future growth? It also assesses future ground transportation and parking requirements, so roadways, can we get people in on cars to go to this new gates? And identify future access of on-airport circulation. So it's a complete study, and it'll be complete by the end of the year. Next slide, please. We also are looking at emerging technology. So you can see on the top one, electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicles. And those are, I call them passenger drones. And they are going to be in the future and not very far off in the future. These drones have been purchased by companies like United Airlines, American, and companies that are behind these vehicles are Boeing and Airbus. So this is in our future. Maybe it will be that in Plant City or Temple Terrace, you'll have a vertiport that'll take you right to Tampa International Airport. Next slide, please. Our total passenger forecast is driving this, and you can see we're going to go from 15.4 million annual passengers to 38 million annual passengers over the next 20 years, and that's what necessitates the growth with the gates. Next slide. And we've already started the community outreach. We'll continue it. Next slide. Our new Blue Express curbs, that's very innovative. You see Secretary Gwynn there and myself. It really does help, and it doubles our curbside capacity. So as we continue to add gates, we have to have curbside capacity for people to get in and out of the terminal. Next slide. We also built a Class A office tower. It's a 9-story building. We occupy 3 floors. We rent out the other 6, and it's 92% rented out right now. Next slide, please. We created a new online booking system, so you can go online, put in your departure and arrival flight information, and it will populate the screen with 3 different parking options that are discounted if you buy online. It just gives you a code that you can scan when you go in and out of the parking garages. Next slide. It's very popular, by the way. Mobile ordering and delivery, you can now order, if you're in airside C, which is Southwest, you can now order from Columbia, which is an airside E, and they'll deliver your meal to you at the gate. So very popular feature, especially for our employees, actually. Next slide, please. We will be using biometric screening and technology at TPA. This is not new to us. It's been adopted, and it's actually been mandated by TSA and CBP. So as you exit the country, it'll recognize your face and open the gate for you to go onto the airplane. You don't even need your passport. So it recognizes your face when you leave, and it recognizes your face when you come back. So you can see the automation is going to be significant in this new terminal. Next slide, please. Well, now, how did that flamingo get out there? It's only a 21-foot flamingo. I don't know why no one noticed that. But we're the only airport in the country and in the world that has a 21-foot pink flamingo. And it is very, very popular. I think that we probably broke all the records on Instagram for photos by the flamingo. So we really are very proud of it. Hope you guys like it. It's playful, It doesn't take ourselves too seriously, and it is Florida. Next slide, please. We continue to be very proud of our accolades, and we are number 2 for large airports in North America by J.D. Power, but stand by hopefully their new rankings will come out, and maybe we can improve that. We'll see. Next slide, please. We are very engaged with our employees. As you can see, over the last 5 years, we've been voted top workplaces by Tampa Bay Times, and we focus on that, and employee engagement is extremely important to us. Next slide, please. And I say thank you for your time and attention. Chairman, if you want me to answer any questions, I'd be happy to.
Well, let's see. Does anybody have any questions? Commissioner Overman, do you have your hand raised?
I do, thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Lopano, what you've been doing at the airport is quite stellar. And you're being able to acquire and competitively apply for the infrastructure bill dollars certainly helps. That and having the revenues to match it, I would imagine, probably didn't hurt either.
Right.
I've been looking long term at how the airport is helping people get around, and clearly rental cars seems to be the primary mode in how people not only get to the airport but leave the airport and come back to the airport. Can you share with me if there may be an opportunity to connect to the rail line that's north of the airport in any way, shape, or form? Is it close enough? Are you aware of any opportunity that might facilitate utilizing that line for airport transit at some point in time?
Yeah, we're aware of it. I know that idea has been floated for a number of years. The better corridor is to connect the city to the rental car center and our people mover there. We've allowed for a right-of-way there for a people mover to come out from the rental car center and go directly down to downtown, whether that goes through the Westshore multimodal center is not known, but we are ready to accept rail. We'd love to, whether it be rubber wheel or steel wheel. Probably rubber wheel makes more sense, but a southern alignment is the preferred one from the airport standpoint.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Klug?
Yes, just want to congratulate Mr. Lopano for being named the Chief Executive Officer of the Year last night.
Thank you.
Well deserved.
Thank you. Yeah, it was kind of fun. I enjoyed it.
And my question is, this is clearly the best airport in the world. How we rank number 2 all the time? Who's number?
Well, we're trying to get it to number 1. We'll see if we can get there. I think, when I first started, we were rated number 3 or something like that, and I said to myself, man, my goal is to not go down to number 6. So I think there's some success in just maintaining those high ratings. Thank you, Charles.
Well, thank you for your presentation. All of us have our own personal experiences with the airport, and if you ask around, people love it, and they love going through it, and they particularly love coming home to it.
Yeah.
So,
well, thank you all for your attention.
Thank you. We are going to move on now, I believe, Ms. Alden, to your report.
Thank you, sir. And I just have a couple of brief updates. At the TIP hearing in June, you all asked us to bring back for your consideration a proposal to possibly amend the long-range transportation plan to remove a project. The project is on I-275 between Hillsborough Avenue and Beers, to add 2 additional general purpose lanes, going from 6 general purpose lanes to 8 general purpose lanes. We will be bringing that back to you for discussion at next month's meeting. We've been taking some additional time to look at traffic impacts and coordinate that with the DOT, make sure that we are all on the same page about what the data are, and we're also looking at impacts of the project as they're documented in the PD&E study. We're looking at coordination with transit projects in the corridor. So for example, the Heart Arterial BRT project would propose reusing some of the lanes on Florida Avenue for bus lanes. Would that traffic situation be different if we changed this project on 275 parallel to it? So we're digging into those questions. We'll be back to you next month with more information. At that point, if you all would like us to proceed with public engagement and advertising for a public hearing, we could make that determination. You could give us some guidance about when you would want a public hearing to be held. And certainly, we would be providing very clear information to the public about what the proposal is, as Ms. Calvert has requested, and doing all of that proactive outreach that we've talked about in our public participation plan. The next item that I have is the Sunrunner BRT field trip. Last month, we talked about doing that as a board tour to go see our first dedicated bus lanes in the Central Avenue corridor in the region. So we'll be going from downtown St. Pete over to the beaches in that Central Avenue corridor. PSTA has kindly offered to provide us with a bus and a tour guide. The date that worked for the most board members was Tuesday, the 15th of November in the afternoon. So we would plan to meet over there. We'll find a spot where you can park, and then we'll be boarding a PSTA bus. It'll be a round trip of between about an hour and an hour and a half. That will be in place of our November board meeting. We do not have a November board meeting scheduled because of the election and how that compresses all of our meeting schedules in the month of November. We also talked last month about public comments on air quality around the I-275 project that's currently under construction. That topic has been discussed at the BOCC meeting. It is scheduled for a presentation tomorrow at the Environmental Protection Commission meeting. We have asked EPC staff to come back and provide an update to this board next month at our October meeting, just so we get a chance to circle back on that, and if there's any additional coordination that we need with the Department of Transportation, we have that opportunity to have that dialogue. Lastly, I wanted to draw to your attention under announcements, we have our quarterly meeting, our quarterly regional meeting. The Tampa Bay TMA Leadership Group meeting will be held on September 23rd at 9:30. We're being hosted this quarter by the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council. And we'll be talking about another of the new funding opportunities in the bipartisan infrastructure law, the Federal Rail Administration's Corridor Identification and Development Program, and what the opportunities might be for our region with that program. Our Regional Gulf Coast Safe Streets Summit will be November 3rd in Lakeland. That's being hosted by Polk TPO this time around. But of course, we'll be identifying a Vision Zero hero, and we'll bring back that awardee to you to recognize as well. And I think that is it for my announcements. Any questions?
No, I don't see any. And if that is it for the good of the order, then we are adjourned.
No, I've got something.
Excuse me,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith, yes, you're
Old and new
recognized.
business is what I was waiting
Oh,
for.
okay.
To point out that in our addendum on project summary, section B, there is a fact sheet about State Road 56 extension. And y'all may remember that the county commission, when we first kind of learned about this sort of sideways by a meeting being held in Zephyr Hills, the county commission became very concerned and sent a letter to FDOT last summer expressing vehement opposition. That was the words we used, vehement opposition to any corridors that would be dipping into Hillsborough County like this through the Green Swamp, Cone Ranch, Nature Preserves area where this seems to be projected to go. And now that we've got this appearing again on our addendum, it sounds like this project is still a possibility. It seemed at that time that we were told, oh, okay, no, it's not going to go there. But now it seems to be rearing its head again. And it looks pretty much the same, except for with the corridor with a little bit of area added. I think we might need to get FDOT to see if they'd come back and give us a report on where this project is, if it's actually moving forward again over the vehement opposition of the Hillsborough County.
Okay, Ms. Alden is shaking her head yes. I wonder, though, Commissioner Smith, given that the board weighed in on this, if it's something you want to bring to the Board of County Commissioners directly. It might be, that might be another forum. But Ms. Alden is indicating that she will ask FDOT for for an update.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else? Okay, well, seeing none, we are adjourned.